Hello, dear learner. I welcome you to the lecture 4 of week 10. It is in continuation of the lecture 1, 2, and 3 of week 10, and the topic is the notion of ecological citizenship. So, first of all, we will have an overview of the concepts to be covered in today's lecture. Here, we will understand the important differences between the traditional notion of citizenship and the notion of ecological citizenship. And secondly, we will understand the important differences between the environmental citizenship and the ecological citizenship. So, with that, we first begin with the traditional notion of citizenship and its important differences with the ecological citizenship. Now, as you already know, that in the lecture 3, we have already discussed some elements of the important differences between the traditional notion of citizenship and the ecological citizenship. To continue with that, we will further understand what are the other important differences between them. Now, in the traditional notion of citizenship, the nature of responsibility is reciprocal, whereas in ecological citizenship, it is non reciprocal in nature. We have to an extent discussed these points while we were earlier understanding the meaning of ecological democracy, where I have made it clear that in the traditional notion of citizenship, the responsibility which the citizens owe to the state as well as the duties which the citizens owes to other citizens, they are in a kind of mutual give and take. It is a type of reciprocal relationship where, and especially if you see the relationship between the citizens and the state, then you will find that the citizens, they perform certain duties and perform certain obligation towards the state, and in return the state gives them certain rights and helps in the protection of those rights. And also, if you become the citizen of any state, you gain certain power and privileges. So, these are some of the important aspects of the citizenship in the traditional sense of the term. Whereas in the ecological citizenship, which extends beyond the boundaries of the state, and it actually talks about our responsibilities to those people or to those components of the ecosystem from which or from whom we cannot expect anything in return. We cannot expect the animals to perform their obligations towards us. We cannot expect the plants to perform their obligations in the way in which we are supposed to do. So, therefore, in the natural world or in the ecosystem, when we say that we owe certain responsibilities because we are the supreme creature having the conscience and knowledge, then naturally we have more responsibilities in comparison to other non human elements of the ecosystem. So, therefore, it cannot be reciprocal in nature. Then, another very important difference is that in the traditional notion of citizenship, the citizens are more particular about their rights and entitlements rather than duties. Because rights are mostly enforceable in the constitution and they can go to the court if their rights are violated. But similar or parallel enforcement with regards to the performance of duty is not there. So, emphasis is more on rights. Duties are there, but those duties are not prior to the claiming of rights, or those the performance of duties are not prior to claiming of rights. And even when the duties are emphasized, it is in the reciprocal relation to rights. So, rights and duties, they are going together. It is not unilateral in nature, it is both sides. It is, in other words, it is in a reciprocal or mutual relationship. But in the case of ecological citizenship, duties are given more importance than the rights. Because if you are claiming certain rights, then rights against whom? Are we claiming rights against the plants, animals, or against certain inanimate beings? It carries no sense. But we owe certain duties towards them because they are also part of the ecosystem, and every element of the ecosystem is performing their role, which in an indirect and direct way is sustaining our lives or ensuring our well-being. So we owe a responsibility. So therefore duties are given more emphasis than rights. Human rights are rights which are the entitlements or claims which human beings makes against another human being, or it can be against the state. But in the context of ecosystem, such exercise of environmental rights or eco rights is not possible, as we find in the case of human rights. Moreover, the duties are non-reciprocal because duties are owed to the stranger. There is no expectation from the performance of duty. So when we are doing certain duties as ecological citizens, then we are supposed to expect nothing in return. Because in this present world of consumerism and commodification and the values which we have given, or the supreme value we have given to money, we expect always something to get in return. We always expect, or we always evaluate things in terms of advantages that will accrue to us. We always expect a monetary benefit in each and every of our endeavors. But in the case of ecological protection, we cannot expect monetary benefit. If we expect monetary benefit, then we are not talking about our duties as an eco-citizen, but we are talking in terms of a person or a citizen who wants to exploit the nature for his or her own advantage. So therefore, there is no expectations, and these expectations actually lie at the root of exploitation and degradation of nature. Now, the traditional notion of citizenship is limited in time and space. This we have already discussed in the context of ecological citizenship, and therefore, this feature is a very important feature which makes the ecological citizenship actually so much different from the traditional notion of citizenship. Because when we are talking about the concept of citizen, then we understand by it the people who are present now, who are alive. Because only those who are alive, those who are existing, or the existing members of the political community, only those are considered as citizens. We don't consider people as citizens who are yet to be born, or who may come after maybe 100 or 200 years, who may stay in this country. We don't have the concept of citizenship for them. So therefore, this is very important. It is limited in time, and it is also limited in space because it is defined by a geographical boundary. It is defined by a territory, which is not possible in the case of ecological citizenship, because our entire arguments for the environmental protection will fail if we talk about the notion of citizenship in terms of a limited boundary of time and space. And on the contrary, as we have already learned in our previous lecture, that how ecological citizenship extends its responsibility beyond time and space. Because duties are owed to the future generation, duties are owed to the people, non-human world, and also inanimate entities who are beyond or who may be beyond the jurisdiction of the state. And therefore, the horizons of the ecology, which is ever widening, therefore, the notion of ecological citizenship and the responsibilities which it entails is also ever widening. So, this is a very, very important aspect or central element of the ecological notion of citizenship. Now, in the traditional, that is the liberal notion of citizenship, if you study the liberal notion of citizenship, the moral orbit extends to human community. If you remember the central tenets of liberalism, then you know that the primary importance is given to individual rights, individual liberty, and the need for a very limited state. If you read the classical liberalism, they are talking about the night watchman function of the state. So therefore, individual and human beings, they constitute the central element of liberalism around which the entire theory, whether it is the political liberalism or the economic liberalism, they actually revolve around the well-being of the individual. So, such an individualistic perspective is also visible in the liberal notion of citizenship, which emphasizes more on rights, more on individual autonomy and freedom. But in the case of ecological citizenship, it is not only limited to human beings, but it extends to ecological community. Because as we are member of the ecosystem, other non-human entities, they also are the members of the ecosystem. Therefore, when we are talking about the ecological citizenship, we are incorporating in the notion of citizenship not only human entities but also non-human entities, which is a very, very important difference or an expansive notion of the ecological citizenship. Then what are the values on which the traditional notion of citizenship and the ecological notion of citizenship is based? Now, the ecological notion of citizenship, as we have already learnt some of the values and some of the essential prerequisites in our earlier lecture, here also again we will understand some more values, and they are values of care, values of responsibility, compassion, self-restraint, etc. Whereas the traditional notion is based on equality, patriotism, social justice, honesty, obedience to the laws, etc. You can see a completely, or to an extent, there is a marked difference in the type of values which are required in the case of ecological democracy from the values which are required in the traditional notion of the citizenship. Values of care, because if you don't have a caring nature, you don't have a feeling of compassion, if you are not sensitive, then you cannot care for the other species on this earth. You need to have a sense of sensitivity towards other non-human elements or non-human components of the ecosystem. Caring and compassion, feeling, emotions for the well-being of others is extremely important, because self-centered attitude or the profit-oriented attitude or self-accusative attitude they are the biggest barriers in the path of ecological protection. Whereas the traditional notion, you can see it is based on the notion of equality of the citizens. All citizens are equal. They are supposed to have a certain sense of patriotism or love towards their country. They must perform their duties towards the country, towards the state. They must have an honesty in all their activities and endeavors. They are supposed to participate in the public sphere in a certain way, and so many other related concepts. Here you find there is no talk about our duties and responsibilities towards the ecosystem, or the ecological aspect is totally absent in the traditional notion of citizenship. Our allegiance and our loyalty is only to the state and nothing more than that. So therefore, such a narrow conception of belongingness, actually it hinders and prohibits us to see the world from a larger perspective, to understand our position in the larger map of ecosystem. So therefore, there is need for enlargement or broadening of the perspective to understand the notion of ecological citizenship. Now, after understanding some of the important differences between the traditional notion of citizenship and the ecological notion of citizenship, I would now like to highlight some of the important differences between the environmental notion of citizenship and the ecological notion of citizenship. Though the two appears to be similar because both are talking about environment, but some of the important green scholars have pointed out the important difference or the technical difference between the environmental citizenship and the ecological citizenship. And this has been done by the noted green scholar Andrew Dobson. Andrew Dobson have argued that there is important difference between ecological and environmental citizenship. And what is that? I would like to quote his words. Environmental citizenship deals mainly with environmental rights. In bracket, acquisition and adopting of rights, particularly in the public sphere. The field of activity is limited by political structure based on nation-state modeling, whereas ecological citizenship is the ecological form of post-cosmopolitan citizenship and includes also non-contractual responsibilities. It is both borderline and public sphere, and it is cross-border and works with the language of virtue. So you can see in this important definition how Andrew Dobson has highlighted not only the important differences between the environmental citizenship and ecological citizenship, but he has also highlighted important elements of both these types of citizenship. Again, when we have a look at the definition or the important difference which has been underlined by Andrew Dobson, he says that when we talk about environmental citizenship, it is located to discussion about environmental rights because it is the state which is talking about the environment along with the initiatives taken by the citizens, which leads to formulation of certain environmental rights. And these rights aim at attaining the objectives of environmental protection or conservation. And the industries and the capitalist houses, they are supposed to follow certain rules and regulations with respect to environmental protection. So therefore, environmental rights constitute a very important component of the environmental citizenship. And of course, here the rights are adopted in the public sphere, but it is guided by the notion of state structure because it is state centric in nature. The rights are built by and protected by the state. State takes the initiative to build the rights or to formulate rights, of course, on the intervention of the citizens or based on the citizens' activism and demands. But ultimately, the main role is played by the state, and therefore he said that this type of citizenship is modeled on the traditional concept of nation state. Whereas the ecological citizenship is post-cosmopolitan in nature, we have already explained this term, and it also includes non-contractual responsibility. It is both borderline and public sphere, it is cross-border and works with the language of virtue. So its borders and boundaries are ever increasing. It is expansive in nature and it works on the basis of certain virtues. Of course, the Republican notion of citizenship, they argue that there are certain virtues or the civic virtues which are essential for the citizens and they should be educated about them so that they make the state strong and healthy. It is essential for the establishment of a strong state. And similarly, when we are talking about the ecological citizenship, we also need a certain values which has been termed as virtues or green values which are required or which are to be inculcated in the citizens so that they become truly the ecological citizens in the real sense of the term. So with this definition, now we come to some of the important features of environmental citizenship. And after that, we will discuss some of the important features of the ecological citizenship. And based on these understanding of different features of both of them, we will be able to understand that how they are different from each other. Also, there are certain points of similarities, but also there are points of differences. So first let us concentrate on some of the features of environmental citizenship. The first is, it is defined with respect to the relation between state and the citizens. Here I would like to emphasize one thing, that in many respects the environmental citizenship appears to be similar to the traditional notion of citizenship. And the reasons are very obvious, because in both the cases, the central unit or foundation is the state. And the only difference between the traditional notion and the environmental notion of citizenship is that in the environmental notion, the citizens and the state now are talking about the environmental goals. They are talking about environmental rights. They are talking about certain environmental commitments. So in that respect, it has gone one step further. But otherwise, it is also based on the traditional type of relationship between the citizens and the state. So it may appear to be similar, and you may ask that, then what is the difference and how they both are actually different from each other? Because we find the same point of difference when we were talking about the traditional notion of citizenship. Now the same point we are also talking when we are discussing about the differences between the environmental citizenship and the ecological citizenship. The reason being that they both are based on the same foundation. And the second important point is that it focuses on contractual rights and entitlements within the public sphere. All the rights and obligations, they are contractual in nature. It is based on the contract. So therefore, the foundation is the same, because the environmental citizenship is based, or it is built on the similar foundation of the traditional notion of citizenship. Only difference is that now our commitment has been extended towards the environmental objective. So therefore, we find the similar elements of differences. And the third point exactly explains this. It extends the right-based discourse to environmental rights. So we are already talking about civil rights, political rights, social rights, economic rights, human rights. Now we are talking about environmental rights. So it is an extension. It is not something which is special, which needs a complete transformation, or which needs an additional set of institutions or some radical change in the state. No, it is just an extension of the rights discourse, an addition to the rights discourse by incorporating environmental rights in it. So that is another important point. Now citizens give consent to the state regarding formulation of environmental rights for their own interest. Here also the state is not authoritarian. The state is doing everything, building laws, making protection for rights, which is based on the consent and agreement and will of the citizens. Because the citizens have given the legitimacy or power to the state to build laws or to ensure the protection of rights. So it is consensual in nature, it is not authoritarian. Now, the next important point is that the environmental rights are recognized in national law and constitution. So it is codified. It is constitutional in nature. It is well recognized and enjoys a legal position or status in the country. So therefore, if they are violated, the citizens or the corporation, they can go to the concerned authority for the protection of their rights or for the redressal of their grievances. It entails a correlative duty to respect the rights of others. Now this is very important. We are having certain rights which is related with the related duty or coterminous duty we have with respect to others, because we can enjoy our rights only when we are fulfilling our duties to others. by violating the rights of others, we cannot enjoy our rights. So it is correlative, it is coterminous. And seventh, the relation between environmental citizen is based on sense of reciprocity, that is duty to respect the rights of others. Because in the environmental debate we have seen that the relationship is based on a sense of reciprocity. I am protecting your rights, then in return you are also supposed to protect my rights, or my enjoyment of right is dependent on performance of my duties to others. So it is a type of a reciprocal relation, and it is a territorial notion of citizenship located within a state. So just like the traditional notion, the environmental notion is also, it is territorial in nature, it is guided by a fixed boundary, and it is located within a state. But now let me add, it is not simply located to the state, but it also extends to global level. The national environmental laws extends to international level, where states they sit together and negotiate with respect to various environmental issues. And there is a continuity between the national laws and the international laws. And a set of obligations is charted out with respect to the various states at the international level. Now, why there is need for extension from the national to the global level? The reason being that all the problems associated with environment almost are global in nature. So therefore, only by restricting ourselves at the national and local levels, we cannot build solutions to those problems. We have to work in tandem with both global and national level and international level. Then only by these combined efforts, we can work towards building solution to environmental problems. So there is linkages between rights and obligations encoded in national and international bodies of law. So this is another very important feature. Now, after examining the features of environmental citizenship, it is pertinent now to analyze what are the features of ecological citizenship and how they are different from the environmental citizenship. Now, we have already seen some of the features. Now, let us try to understand once again or summarize it. It is defined with respect to relation between individuals and the entire ecosystem. So, we are not talking about state, we are talking about the entire ecosystem. It focuses on non-contractual responsibilities. This we have discussed quite a number of times, and this feature is what makes the ecological type of citizenship so different from all other types of citizenship, because here the responsibilities are not based on give and take or on some bargain. It is based on ecological footprint. So our responsibilities are calculated, our duties are calculated based on how much ecological footprint we have created, whether it is individual, whether it is organization or it is a corporation. And obligations are owed asymmetrically. Since we have all having different ecological footprints, therefore we all owe almost different types of responsibility, therefore obligations are asymmetrical in nature. We have already discussed about these points earlier also. Next point is, ecological citizens will not simply reduce their ecological footprint, but also challenge the unsustainable production and consumption pattern of other actors. So it is not only self-centered, but they will also ensure that other non-sustainable patterns of consumption and production are not getting continued in the society. They will challenge them. They will also provide voices to those who are poor and marginalized in the policy processes, like the tribals, then the marginalized groups, various ethnic communities, even women, landless, then peasants, etc. And finally, they will keep a vigilance over capitalist production and corporation initiatives. I think the citizens' activism is a very, very important element of ecological democracy, because it is only with the help of the struggles initiated by the citizens that various important steps towards ecological protection could have been taken. We have many instances across the world. David Humphrey have emphasized that there are important differences between two types of citizenship, but they also overlap. So they are not in a strict compartment, but they are overlapping also. And this is illustrated by the fact that they mutually reinforce each other when individuals make claims on the basis of environmental rights, and at the same time they are making a critique of those actions whose ecological footprint denied them what they should have got. So they are doing the two things simultaneously. They are making a critique and they are also demanding their own share in terms of various environmental rights. So with that, I come to the end of this lecture, followed by certain questions, and these questions are based on the topics which are covered in the lecture. First, how ecological notion of citizenship is better than the traditional notion with regards to the protection of environment. Explain the main points of difference between environmental citizenship and ecological citizenship. And these questions are followed by two more questions which are aimed at steering your imagination so that you can think and you can develop your own answers. The first is, can you think of 5 duties you may have to perform under ecological citizenship? Think of some of the ways in which ecological citizenship can be enforced in real life. So, we expect you to give some original answers or suggestions. So, with this, we come to the end of this lecture. Hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much.